Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Mythlok with your host, Nitin Nair. After discussing some of the Native American spirits or the Cherokee spirits in the previous episode, I think it would be a good time to take a trip to Asia and to one of the largest countries in the world with one of the most historic or ancient mythologies out there in the region, Chinese mythology. Now, Chinese gods have always been a question of debate because the Chinese believe that every mythology in existence is actually a historical record and everything actually existed. Now, this has stemmed many of the current political ambitions of the Chinese government, but then this is not a political podcast and we wouldn't be getting into those specifics. In the Chinese pantheon, one of the gods that actually has counterparts in many mythologies around the world is that of Zhurong. Now, Zhurong is a god of fire and the south in Chinese mythology and folk religion. Some sources associate him with some of the most important myths of China, such as the Nuwa, the Gongong, and the Great Flood. He is believed to live in the bright palace of Kunlun Mountain. It is said that he sent the kindling from heaven and taught human beings how to use fire. Now, this in itself is very similar to Agni, the god of fire in Indian mythology, and characters from Greek mythology who actually went up to Mount Olympus and stole fire to give it to the humans. And the whole concept of fire being an important element in the lives of the people and them associating a god who was responsible for bringing it to them is a common narrative that we see across mythologies, regardless of its geographic location or its history, age of existence. It has been believed that Chinese mythology is full of factual details and the legends told about events and characters that were distant from the present. This is also true for Zhurong, who is portrayed as a historical figure in the Sima Qian records, where he held the important position of Minister of Fire. Zhurong is depicted as a proud man who wears armor and is riding a tiger. In some stories and myths, he is also shown as riding two dragons at once, symbolizing fire and heat. He is believed to have helped separate heaven and earth when the whole creation was going on. Legend has it that Zhurong was a son of Gaoyang, who was also known as Xuanshu, a sky god and also a historical person. He is also believed to have inherited the royal lineages of various states in China. Gaoyang also had a son Gun, who fathered Yu the Great. The imperial clan of the Qin dynasty also claimed descent through Gaoyang, not through Zhurong though. Zhurong was also claimed to be an ancestor to the 8 lineages of the royal families of the Chu state. He is best known for defeating his own son Gong, who was a water demon. After days of battle, where they battled across the heavens, they both fell down to earth, with Zhurong appearing victorious. Zhurong is also known as Chongli in many parts of ancient and modern China. Now, when he was a child, he was named Li, which is a shortened version of Chongli, as he had a very red face and was very smart along with a fiery temper. At that time, Xu Ren learned how to make fire by drilling wood, but he had no idea how to keep it burning or to manage it. Li would eventually become an expert at fire-related tasks and, most importantly, learn to manage it. Li was capable of using fire for cooking, heating, lighting, driving beasts and insects away, and also for other productive uses. Like we mentioned before, Zhurong is considered to be a real historical figure in Chinese mythology and has been given the status of being an actual person who was in the court of either the Jade Emperor or one of the emperors with the task of Minister of Fire. We would never know whether this is a fictional character or a real character unless more research is done by more neutral researchers into the concept of Chinese mythology. Chinese mythology has always inspired a lot of different fantasies and creations with the most prominent being the dragons, which I feel is quite unfair to the rich heritage that China or the Chinese mythology can offer to the rest of the world. So we in our part will be exploring a lot more characters from Chinese mythology as we go along our journey in Mythlok. Thank you very much for tuning in to another episode of Mythlok. This is your host Nitin Nair signing off, reminding you once again that Mythlok is the home of mythology.